Thanks very much for joining us for the Intermodal Logistics Podcast. I'm Kevin Baxter, joined by my co-host for this edition, Intech Logistics President, Shelley Austin. Hi, Shelley.
Hey, Kevin.
And, we talk intermodal logistics on this podcast, but a part of intermodal is involving the road.
That's right.
And trucking is certainly a big part of the supply chain. And we're talking about a sort of special solution to a long-standing problem in the industry. And to do that today, we welcome Evan Shelley, the co-founder and CEO of Truck Parking Club. Evan, thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So first off, tell us a little bit about your background in the industry and how this all came about.
Yeah, so my background, I was a real estate guy. I went to school for civil engineering and I'd always been interested in real estate. In my teens, I was fortunate to be able to partner with people to buy rental properties and went to school for civil engineering, then went and worked for some general contractors, site developers, and then from there went into flipping houses in Florida. And that became a bit mundane, and I started then doing large scale land deals. And through doing those land deals, I found out about the truck parking issue in the US, and that's 2021. And it was such an interesting problem with the supply demand imbalance. I started looking into it for 6 to 12 months, understanding what's going on and like a good way to approach it to be a part of the solution. And originally I thought just go buy and build more parking, right? If there's not enough, just go buy and build more. But that's part of why there's a problem, is because it's quite difficult to go buy, build, develop more truck parking. And it makes sense from an ROI standpoint, putting all that together. And so fortunately found out about marketplace models and how you can leverage, a sharing economy type model, and applied that kind of in theory at first to building a truck parking marketplace. And so really that's my background and how I found out about the truck parking issue and leading into how I started Truck Parking Club.
So that's the origin story. So for people who have just heard a little bit about it, how do you actually use it, and what is where does it cover?
So Truck Parking Club, it's a two-sided marketplace that really any driver, fleet manager, dispatcher can pick up in real time and book parking. And we do that by leveraging existing space. That can be a trucking company with extra space in their yard, a tow truck company, a truck repair shop, a warehouse, a CDL school, really any extra space that's suitable for parking. We can get you in the business of truck parking the same day.
So, Evan, I was when we had breakfast at TIA, I was fascinated with the solution and everything that you've created. And one of the things in our space, being a broker, we do mostly intermodal, but being a broker, we see a lot of different opportunities. And you and I spoke about this. And so for the truck drivers, it's amazing. And even in our intermodal space, just to kind of put some application to it, it doesn't have to be a truck driver or a dispatcher. It could be even ourselves if we're trying to help a driver that's moving on our loads. If they happen to have a layover or issues that on an intermodal move, this is a very easy and quick application for us to keep the freight flowing. So we had those types of conversations. And tell us a little bit about the app, because we sat there at breakfast and, you literally put in an address and all of a sudden all this fun stuff comes up on your phone and we were able to locate different things. So tell us how easy that is.
Yeah. Sorry. Drivers, fleet managers, dispatchers, and brokers.
There you go.
I messed that up. But yeah, the app, I really built it with the goal of anyone just being able to pick it up. Just super simple. Pick it up, use it. Not dissimilar to like Uber or Airbnb, right? You don't need a big onboarding process. It's very straightforward, and really kept the same thing in mind with Truck Parking Club. It's as simple as you can go and search by address, search by city, That's typically what we see is someone will search by city and see what's near them. And then from there, you can look at the location, see number of spaces available, see pricing, see what that location offers between amenities and what it's near. We provide photos, we provide reviews, everything you'd normally see in like an Airbnb. From there, you can pick duration. We have locations that can do a combination of hourly, daily, weekly, and monthly. What we mostly see is daily, weekly, and monthly bookings. You choose your duration, and then from there, it'll tell you a price, make sure there's availability. You input your payment info, credit or debit card. And we also have a wallet feature. And from there, it's as simple as clicking finalize booking. So 90% of our customers, from their sign up to booking, they do that in 10 minutes or less. And then from there, it's like a couple minutes on average for their next booking.
So, and one of the things that I asked you, and one of the that I think is really neat is it's not trucking. The drivers is the most important for sure. I mean, we've all lived the world prior to an application like yours, where drivers are parked in areas that are unsafe, even for us driving, and it's not their fault. They didn't have anywhere to park. But when we were talking about this, we talked about the application. It could be even for container storage, right? And I think that's really something we want to highlight here. For instance, we're all dealing with the exception loads, right? The ones that are causing us the most problem and the most money and the most work. And a lot of times there can be something that goes on where you have to store a container with product in it for a couple days because something happened on that load, or it's over a weekend or something like that. Can people use this service to find secure lots to store the containers as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I did not mention the vehicles, so you can book by bobtail, box truck, trailer, container, or a combination of tractor trailer or tractor container, tractor chassis, and you can also filter by amenities. So if you're looking for something more secure, let's say you need lights, camera, and security at the gate. Something of that nature, you can filter for those amenities to make sure that the locations you're looking at provide those. So we make it easy for someone that's wanting to store, a container, let's say it's high value, and them feel good about what they're booking at that location.
So let's back up a little bit. You sort of took us through the origin, but how big of an issue is it in terms of finding parking in the first place? And how did you come about like really hearing about this as like a major issue and going about addressing it?
Yeah. So within the industry, the common statistics that you'll hear from the ATA and OIDA is one space for every 11 trucks. The average driver takes 56 minutes to find parking on a daily basis. Just this huge, shortage of parking on a daily basis throughout the U.S. Ultimately, through doing my real estate deals, I found out about the problem, but then from there, I started attending industry events. So I think my first event I ever went to was a FreightWaves conference, and I knew nothing about transportation. I just kind of showed up, and but it was very enlightening, and I learned a lot, and I did learn how big of a problem it is, and like it was clear that there were a lot of stakeholders desiring a solution. And it was also clear that there had been other companies that had tried, and it appeared that there was just kind of a lot, seemed like people were kind of burnt out on solutions, and like, that seemed quite apparent, and burnout kind of on the government and on private sector solutions at that point. And I thought that there was something that we could do about it to be a part of the solution. After kind of doing my market research, as I guess people would call it, it did seem quite clear that there was an opportunity to do something impactful.
So I just hopped on your social media a little earlier today. You're at, you just passed 1,900 locations, I believe, as of our recording.
Yeah, just past 1,900 last night. This will give you an idea of how lucky I am and Truck Parking Club is to have an awesome team. I mean, we were onboarding properties at like 2 a.m. last night, getting past 1,900 properties. So it's we're very serious about this, and we've got a very passionate team. And yeah, we just passed 1,900 properties, but our goal in the next 20 or so months is to be past 10,000 properties. So we still got a lot of work to do.
Wow, that's fantastic. Since 2001, you're at 1,900?
Since really launched the company in late, like the last week of December of 2022.
Oh,
2022.
so 2022. I said 2001.
I think that was the idea. The idea year was 21.
I had that 2020 and then 21. Yeah. So thank you for correcting me. Yeah. That's unbelievable.
Like the idea. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Like, is there something here? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Also, you talked about onboarding. So, and you mentioned a little bit about like the types of places that you're looking at, but get into that a little bit more about like somebody listening or watching right now saying like, maybe I have a property that would fit this bill.
Yeah. So how we think about it, minimum standards is the property suitable in the sense of can a driver, in some cases it could be bobtail box truck only, but can a tractor trailer enter the facility? Can they park at the facility adequately and then exit the facility and have no issues? Like, that's kind of the minimum standard. And then if they can't do that, can they do it for bobtail box truck or trailer only? And we have a few bobtail box truck only type locations. But it can be, trucking companies with extra space in the yard, tow truck companies, truck repair shops, warehouses. In a lot of cases, these locations are already have trucks parking there, in the sense of maybe they're working on trucks, maybe they're a trucking company, maybe they tow trucks. So they're a lot of these, what we call property members, are very familiar with trucks in general.
So, Evan, let's take this back to where you mentioned briefly about you can choose kind of what level of security that you need for this application. And I really want to think about that, because then I'm sure you've heard in all the industry events that you've been at that the number one thing that is hitting our industry, truck and intermodal alike, is the cargo theft. And it seems like this application is really helping improve upon what we're seeing there, because theft happens a lot when when the product stops moving, and when it stops moving or is parked on the side or has to go home and park at somebody's house or in these different areas that aren't secure. I think that's where it leaves it open for the rapid theft. So are you seeing that, or having a lot of people talk to you about the fact that this is really another big impact, not only to solve the parking situation, but also to help improve upon the cargo theft situation?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, we help all these different companies securely park their storage. But, very recently we're like, man, we have all this data on all this equipment. We can actually be quite helpful to law enforcement as well. So we're always going to have locations that are, not the highest security. I mean, pretty much every truck stop in the U.S. today is not secure, right? So I think that's always going to exist. I think and there are definitely use cases. I wouldn't recommend, high value loads parking in non-secure locations by any means. But I do think what we're able to do is we have all this data and we're able to actually give it to verified law enforcement. And that's something we've been thinking about a lot about. We're partnering with some specific companies right now that we can't really talk about publicly yet, to provide that data to really hand it out to law enforcement to where they can do an even better job. Because I do agree that, it's when cargo stops moving that's, can be one of the biggest times. And the issue a lot of times I think is there's no data around a lot of this, but for us, since we're transactional, we have data on equipment. And if you combine what we have with some other companies out there, you can actually have like a really quite strong data set on preventing uh, uh, cargo theft. So I think we kind of do it in a couple different ways. One way being making it very easy for people to find secure facilities, but also just having this large amount of data that we can provide to verified law enforcement to help them do their jobs better, and probably most importantly, just instantaneous data.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of supplements the vehicles that have their GPS tracking and everything, but then you have specifics about this type of vehicle is parked at this location at this time, all that. So yeah, it seems like certainly a valuable both in an individual situation and then also as maybe some sort of broader look at what's happening out there.
Yeah, it is, and it is definitely something that's been on my mind, and I think very recently, where like we should be taking actions toward creating a system and a database that verified law enforcement can literally just in real time be have access to our data, so they can do their jobs extremely well. So it's definitely, I think we're very excited about that part of the business. I think to be supportive in that regard as well.
Yeah, I think for everything that we're all focused on, and there's many things, but I would say that one definitely has a whole lot of opportunities to improve and get more applications to help tighten the loop of how these what shall I say bad offenders, bad practice folks, these really, really smart people that should be using their skills for something else than stealing cargo, tightening that up to where we make it much, much harder for them to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the more like I've kind of thought about this recently is like, there isn't that much data on like in the physical world, right? There really isn't that much. And I do not know of one, but I do not think there is a database. But there are a handful of companies out there right now, including us, that has all this physical world data, right? That's not being put into a broader database. So that's, I think, something we can do differently. Obviously, there are companies, you think of like a highway that can prevent kind of fraud in general. I think RMIS is another one, but how much is being done kind of in the physical world in real time, instantaneous, and I think that's where we can just be another feather in the cap for law enforcement and various companies that see value in it.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned reviews, another sort of way that people, as you said, like Airbnb, Uber, all those things, everyone's used to using this kind of thing. So how important was it to make an app that is something that people can, as you said, in 10 minutes or so, you can hop in there and you know what you're doing. How important was that user experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think to have a true marketplace, reviews are everything, right? It's those 3 stars and below reviews that really creates accountability in the marketplace. So for every review 3 stars and below, we call internally, we call to that trucker member to see what's going on, what was the experience, what went wrong, and then go to the property member and rectify it. Or, sometimes people are just having a bad day and it's not nearly as bad as what the review was, but it keeps a lot of balance within the marketplace. And I think it's huge to do so, to make it very easy to collect those reviews and then be watching those reviews, and then make sure that if there are issues to resolve those issues as quickly as possible. I think you have to have that, I think, to be an effective marketplace, because at the end of the day, we're really delivering experience to a driver and we're delivering experience to a property owner. And if we don't match those two up and deliver a great experience to both parties, And then in the instance where it doesn't go well, make sure that it's resolved. We're out of business, right? Imagine Airbnb 10, 15 years ago, if they were just delivering bad experiences over and over again. I mean, they wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
So we think about it very much the same.
Well, and I think to add to that, one of the things, because I see you and your team on LinkedIn all the time. And so you're not just out there talking to somebody or, over a Zoom call, finding a location. You guys are out there and physically looking at these locations, making sure what they are is truly what they are, and making sure that these drivers are going to the right place and a good place that says everything about what they're stating. So the fact that you and your team are actually physically going to these locations, I think that says a lot for adding to not only the reviews, but for your passion for making sure this goes well.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we are a tech company, but we are dealing exclusively in the physical world, right? With these huge pieces of equipment. And so we do very much have to be boots on the ground. We do very much have to be making sure these properties are adequate. Obviously, with all the technology today, you can do a really good job without ever having to go to that location. But then we top it with having crews that are actively going to locations throughout the U.S. all the time. And I mean, we have active lists of like where we're going, where we haven't been, and where we're going. I think the team we have a weekly meeting, and we're going over like where's the next places we need to go based on demand. And we go to those locations, we evaluate them for suitability, we put up signage, and take photos, aerials, etc., and do all that within a site visit. And sometimes we find out things we're not very happy with, and that can lead to a property being taken down, which is honestly a win for us, because it's like, okay, we just avoided a bad experience with a customer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I saw a video earlier. Again, just from today, there was one I think in Shelbyville, off of 74, which is not that far from us here. So
That's right.
I thought that was an interesting coincidence that you just added one from Indiana today. I don't know if it was a shout out or something, but we'll take it. So I also noticed that you have added some things that are not just paid parking spots. Florida, for instance, has a bunch of rest areas. So and those have just been added, right?
Yeah. So we added rest area, truck parking, space availability within the last few weeks here. And it's a real-time JSON feed that there's feeds into our app, and we give it away for free just to show real-time availability. I think in our minds, we want to be a service to drivers, and we know that if there's a space at a rest area and you don't have this, high value load, that makes sense. And why ignore the realities? Like, if I have a choice to park at a free spot or a paid spot and they're side by side, unless I've got expensive stuff in my car, I'm gonna park in the free spot, likely, if I don't have any concerns with the area or whatever, right? So we're all human. We shouldn't ignore it. And it shows real-time availability. So it's not like you're driving there and you don't know. So it really checks all the boxes for our mission. And so we think any availability like that, we'll always have it posted on our app, because I think it just makes sense for our mission. And so we also have it at 150 or so other locations in, I think, 7 states along the north of the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense as using your app as a resource for parking. Then they don't have to go, okay, well, here's the paid spots. Now let me pop over here and check this other, or wait until I get close and see if there's a list of spots available at this one. It seems like it just makes sense for both you to keep people in the ecosystem and for the people to use it to know that they don't have to look somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, so our mission is Truck Parking Club helps truckers save time and fuel by efficiently finding and reserving truck parking across the U.S. And so finding we're helping drivers save time and fuel by finding truck parking in this scenario. It aligns with our mission. And if that checks the boxes for them, and we show the availability, whether that's 0 or 10 or 50, and so they know. And if it's 0, they're not going to waste their time, right? So we're saving them time and fuel. But if there is availability, then we're saving them time and fuel as well. So it does check all of our boxes. I think the thing that doesn't check our boxes much, that we'd love to figure out a way for it to, is just like general free parking. The problem, it's kind of like a fallacy where it's like, okay, this place has free parking. The problem is it could be full all the time. You could be wasting, well, I mean, drivers do waste 56 minutes a day falling for that fallacy of pull into truck stop or pull into XYZ parking lot, check for parking, it's full, on to the next exit, same thing, check, on to the next exit, right? And then they end up wasting time and fuel. So we really think about all the different ways drivers can save time and fuel, because at the end of the day, we want to be an efficiency tool.
So that 56 minutes, obviously, that adds up quite a bit if it's a long haul, couple day haul or something like that. Yeah, for carriers, how much have they come to you and said how this has been helpful in terms of giving you a little more certainty on timing and everything in terms of deliveries?
Yeah, so we ask drivers, we survey our drivers and ask them, in addition to considering the amount you're paying to reserve parking with us, do you think you save time and fuel? How much money do you think you save, if you save any money, by booking with Truck Parking Club? And on average, it's about $13.50 that drivers say that they're saving because they're booking with us. And it on average, our bookings are $20. So they believe they are saving $33.50 total by minus the 20, so $13.50 by booking with Truck Parking Club. So we think that's pretty cool data to see, and we just survey trucker members that are booking with us, and it's cool data to see that what was a theory, when I started the company, is actually came true. And I think that number will continue to go up and up and up as we add more and more locations and provide more options. And I think to add to that, it's interesting to see what times of day our customers book. So when do drivers usually park? In the afternoon and the evenings, right? And for some, maybe later at night. Well, our booking pattern, if you say this is 12 o'clock, our booking pattern is kind of like this. And so what does that mean? That means that drivers are booking in advance when they know where they're going to be when they are done driving, and ideally they're out of hours at that point, right? So they're not booking when they're actually parking. And I think on average, on daily bookings, drivers book around 4 hours in advance. So it's pretty cool data to see that what was theory. Drivers are leveraging us to really save time and fuel and be more efficient.
So in the ideal world, obviously you do have something lined up in advance. How quickly, though, for somebody who's scrambling, if they're I'm here, I need to stop, but I can't find parking right away. How quickly does that turn around if somebody sees something and wants to book it?
Book it in real time. Yep, book it right then in real time.
Yeah. Pretty useful.
It is pretty fascinating.
So, are there any particular areas that you feel like are maybe spots that really need more in terms of availability, like parts of the country that you'd like to get a little more of a footprint into, based on conversations, based on where people are going?
Yeah, I mean, I really think there's a need almost everywhere at certain times. It
Hmm.
definitely moves. You could definitely watch demand move to certain parts of the country based on what's going on. Um, I would say the highest demand markets we see is SoCal, NorCal, um, South Florida, um, Chicago is a pretty strong market. The Northeast around New York City, call it Newark, um, is really high demand as well. Um, I would say those are kind of the hotspot markets, typically because of a port
Yeah.
of some kind. South Florida obviously has a port, but I think South Florida they just kind of have a amount of land issue at this point. But uh, those are kind of the major markets that uh, you could you need a lot more parking.
You mentioned ports, and we talked a little bit about intermodal trucking as well. You said you can even reserve for just a few hours if you need some sort of maybe a staging spot or a break for whatever reason in the middle of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have um, trucker members book all the time and say that something got delayed. They had for whatever issue they needed a place for a few hours, and we're extremely helpful for those types of situations because you can book with us instantly. Ideally, we have something right beside you, and you're not scrambling trying to find somewhere to go for a few hours. So we can be quite helpful in those types of scenarios.
So another thing that on your website, this is something that we kind of think about a lot as well, is the educational aspect of people who are in the industry or looking to work with somebody, being able to find out information of that kind of covers the gamut of what they're looking at. And I noticed on your site you've done a lot with blogs and articles, and obviously you're out there with industry events and podcasts as well. How important do you see that as sort of a supplement to your brand and your business?
Um, and you're saying on the content side, or you're just saying in general everything we're doing?
All of it.
Yeah,
Content,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, being out there.
yeah. It's everything. It's everything. Yeah, it's and what it creates when you're out there, when you're at these shows, when you're making content, when your whole team's posting, when you're constantly putting yourself out there, when you're going on podcasts, like it requires you to actually fulfill what you're talking about, and it requires you to deliver. If I sit on all these podcasts and go to all these shows and we're not delivering good experiences, and it's going to keep you honest, right? So I think you you can kind of maybe prop up a brand for a short period of time perhaps, but ultimately if you put yourself out there like what we do with hundreds of thousands of followers and kind of being trying to be everywhere, it creates accountability for yourself, and people know where to reach us if they've had a bad experience. They're commenting on random posts on social, and we're like trying to find out what is this person talking about. Sometimes it's not true, but sometimes it is, and it's like it creates a lot of accountability, and so creating a really pushing the brand is great, and it creates a lot of awareness. But the second part to that is you have to deliver on uh, what you're doing. In our scenario, helping drivers get safely parked. Like we have to deliver on that as well. You can't just have a cool brand. Like that's not how this works. You can't just pump up a brand. You have to actually be able to execute on that as well. And I would say the harder you push the brand, the better you have to execute, because it creates even more accountability because you're out there, right? You're not this faceless kind of company that, if someone complains, you don't even get a response.
Yeah.
So, and we're okay with that. We like that. That's great. I enjoy those conversations where we're at a show and a driver comes up and says, I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like that. Those are the best conversations, because you learn so much. And then we take our notes and then we go back when we figure out what happened. And sometimes it's like we completely drop the ball. Sometimes it's, it's a bit of he said, she said type stuff, but like we learn so much. So I think brand is huge, and it's a forcing function on making sure you're running a great business for your customers.
Well, I mean, that kind of thing also gives you maybe you add a filter or something that you didn't have before, or search terms, something that maybe just improves the user experience as well.
100%. Yeah, it's just learning, right? I mean, all of our there's something to be learned from all feedback and all negative feedback as well. There's something you can take from it.
So, I mean, you are literally just on the cusp of so many great things, and you're solving one major issue for truck drivers, which is phenomenal. But then you see the other side of it, where you're benefiting property owners as well, because in our world, there's so much additional, real estate that kind of was taken down for the pandemic time, and a lot of that's not getting used today. So there's two purposes being served here. My question to you is like, definitely don't want to move off of the initiative and the mission to take care of the truck drivers and their parking. But as you mentioned with the cargo theft and working with the authorities, the data that you have and the network that you're building could lead into so many other things that could help us in our industry. As we think about it, you have warehouses that are offering some of their space, and we have, there's truck drivers that can be going down the road and something critical breaks on their truck, and they have to go find somewhere where they can transload the cargo, or there has to be an immediate cross dock for some reason, and it feels, just knowing, because we've lived it, that it's really hard to find those places. And you're going to have that information at your fingertips to help people with those additional things that are still issues in our industry. And everybody's looking for that opportunity to be able to have the Uber, the Amazon, the click of a button solution, to where they're not making 20 phone calls to figure out where they, send their truck.
Yeah. We definitely get asked and kind of approached about what, you're parking at all these facilities, and there's obviously all these other services happening at a lot of these facilities, whether it's repairs, cross docking, truck wash, just all kinds of services are typically happening in the immediate area. We see it, we think we can be helpful with it, but I would say a big word at our company is focus, and we have a long way to go just focusing on truck parking. We kind of have these lines in the sand where we're like, okay, once we get to this point, we'll start considering some of these other services, other things that we think we can execute on, just because we're in proximity, literally, of these other things going on. But until then, I don't, it's super interesting. But I don't think it's not something we spend really any resources on at this point. But, in theory, someone books parking at a warehouse, at some type of terminal, needs cross dock. It could literally just be an addition to the parking. It could literally be a button as they're booking, like thinking like when you book an airline, you're wanting to add bags or whatever. When you're something of that nature, it could literally be that simple, where you just click it because that location offers it. You click, add cross docking, and then there's probably going to be specific questions they need to answer. But once they answer to those questions, we get them a cost, and then they just add that in with their parking. So yeah, there's definitely stuff like that we can do. I just think today we just need to focus on the main thing, but we'll it's highly likely we'll be considering stuff like that more deeply at some point in the future.
Focus. I like it. Love it.
And you mentioned branding. We don't even need to explain it. Basically, the name of your company basically does explain what it does. So tell people though where they can find Truck Parking Club, how they can get involved on either side in terms of booking or maybe having a property.
Yeah, for sure. Easiest way is just go to truckparkingclub.com. If you're interested in our socials, you can scroll to the footer, and all of our socials are on there. We have a newsletter as well. We have a 24/7, 365 customer service line made up of former drivers. That number is 888-899-PARK. That's 888-899-7275. You can click Become a Property Member in the top right-hand corner. If you're looking to add one of your locations, that'll take you to a landing page that answers a lot of the things that maybe we didn't get to on this podcast. And if you're looking to book, obviously, if you have any questions, call into the customer service line. But if not, just sign up and you can book right there. It'll just take you a few minutes.
Great, Evan. We appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Evan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
As I said at the end, it's a very self-explanatory product or brand, but there are a lot of layers to it, and as you said, you can get deeper and deeper into the layers the more you think about it. Yeah,
but I love the focus. I think when people try to do all for everyone, that's when they get lost.
Right.
So I love the word focus, and that they're focusing on their mission, and that is the parking for the truck drivers. I just remember, and it was not long ago at all. Transport Topics. One of the main articles I would see all the time would be no parking for truckers, and it has been a huge issue. Even just personally, you go to a grocery store or something, and you see all these trucks parked in the parking lot, and you wonder about, wow, this is terrible that they have to park in these parking lots and take up space, but they didn't have anywhere else to do it. So I think
they're not enjoying
it either.
These spaces.
Exactly. So I think it's amazing, and it has nothing but growth for it.
Yeah, so 1,900 now as of today, as we record this, and so I guess it's by the end of next year that they're hoping to get to 10,000, and I think they're probably on their way.
Yeah, I think so. And how cool is it that we just had one on, the rapid repair, and now we have this on truck park. I mean, these are all these tools that have been lacking in our industry, and people are coming up with these things to help the industry as a whole. It's not specific to one company or one brand. It's to help the industry as a whole, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, they could do the rapid repair on a parking space that someone booked on Truck Parking Club. I mean, it can all work together.
I think it all fits together.
Synergy.
Yes, right.
There's another good word.
That's right.
Well, thanks very much for joining us for this edition. And again, thanks very much to Evan for taking the time to speak with us. Please do rate and review us wherever you get our podcast. Please also drop a comment. And if you have any questions or just any kind of feedback, we certainly appreciate it. You can also email us at podcast@intechlogistics.com as well. And you can find our website, www.intechlogistics.com, for more about what we do. Shelley, thanks very much.
Thanks, Kevin.
We'll be back again soon.